Hi there. Welcome to A Progressive Alternative with Victor Monjares. I'm Victor Monjares, and this is the final part three of my All Heroes ranking list. Now, I'm going to go a little bit faster on this one, or maybe not. This might, at first, I would think this would be more than 15 minutes, but watch, it goes 45 minutes. Because these are the last 25 of the heroes that I basically see that basically can be considered as the number one, or at least the best heroes of all time, basically in all genre of our society. Now, of course, a little bit of a recap about my curriculum. Basically, what person does it much more better? Do they do it without much power? What do they do when they get power taken away from them? Or what happens when they become ordinary? Can they influence other people? Can they go outside of their job description to become something more than themselves or what they're basically perceived as? So that's basically what my All Heroes listing would ever basically atone to. And basically it's just a bit of a nice little final 25, although I should mention the from 26 was Julius Van Russefield. I couldn't really say her name right, so this is basically who she is from the Astric War. That whole pink hair combination there, that was number 26. She's number 26. So we now and now as we get closer, you get to see that now with my presentation, especially with what you see around me, that that's a reason why they're in the top, and there's a reason why they're in that particular setting there. So here we go. Number 25, Genos from One Punch Man. Yes, he was the robotic android human assistant to Saitama. He's a little bit higher in the list. About basically helping out this hero, basically, as they're called. Even though most of them are superheroes, though there are actually people that don't have superpowers that can still be heroes in that essence. So with One Punch, Genos is just a quality assistant, even backup. Although it is kind of tragic that they keep saying that, oh, that's all he's ever going to be. He's never going to be dominant. He's never going to. If he was in a different show, he would be some quite of a over charismatic hero. Though I would like to tell them that that is something that you always have to perceive, and he still is someone quite important. He still expands himself, tries to become much more better, saving a girl from basically being acided by some huge humongous monster does not disqualify you from any negative, or at least disqualify you from just being overplayed as an overrated character. And that's the very tragic thing that people like to put on Genos, who is basically quite the helper. And you sometimes even get to be enough to initiate other people being strong, being brave. And Genos does enough with that. Though his quirky little, or not very quirky, though he is quite into the essence that, oh yeah, he is an android, so he has to kind of be robotic, and that essence of just, oh yeah, I have to just stay focused and strive on to be better. And then of course him just becoming just a total fanboy of Saitama is quite it's quite admiring. And you clearly get to see that that you get to be your own. You get to grow. You get to be a much more better version of yourself. Number 24, Ilhan Omar. She is the House. She is a current congressional representative from Minnesota. Yes, I get it. And not a lot of people would like this because, of course, I know that you think that, oh, yeah, because I'm much more of a democratic socialist or a progressive, or in that aspect, is that, oh, yeah, of course, that's why she's on this list. Not really. She's been pushing ideas that were even a little bit much more ahead of Bernie as well, which you'll see him much more later in the list. Kind of my list, but of course, people just keep those on the conservative side always keep trying to put out death threats to her and thinking, oh my god, because she finally introduced that, oh, people can wear the turban or the headscarf now, it's like, oh, now America's going to be blown up, she has to be stopped. And it's like, it's one person who wears that, Not everyone is starting to do that. Nobody's forcing their religion onto you. Hell, even with the Constitution, it's just this whole thing about under God. It's like we never said what God. We never said the Catholic God. We never said the Muslim God. We never said a Buddhist God. It's just under God. So you could definitely interpret that any type of God you want to worship. That's kind of acceptable. But Elon Omar just being ever so gorgeous and gracious and help, pushing forward those ideas such as the student debt cancellation there and helping out people and trying to promote that and trying to and making the best efforts to curb the deficiency that both her constituency and everybody in this country and facing that with all that negativity there, it is a dark place, but she is able to handle it pretty well. Even the president, that current orange flake motherfucker who thinks he's so much better, and because he can't fuck any of these women anymore, because he can't do that, he thinks they're a dangerous thing. Well, hate to break it to you, pal. You may be white, but those type of days where you can easily do that are way over. Even though, yeah, there is some resistance to get it back. But you know what? At least Omar, basically face a lot more treachery stuff than you have. Not like you're ever going to watch this. But then again, you tend to watch more of those people that just reinforce your ideas. Anyway, before I get a little bit more angry, next one, number 23, Barry Allen, who's also known as the Flash. Yes, he is quite a enlightening individual. Just still this, and this is the CW version of it. And it's like, I know there's different versions because there's like multiverses, and he has to deal with that, and he has to deal with his family. Because he's starting to have this new family, but he's still keeping himself quite composed and still keeping himself quite focused on making sure that not only his family but everybody around him, because he has pledged to protect his city or use his lightning speed to help those in need, or at least make sure that those who are much more powerful than the people that they are trying to suppress can be much more enlightened. And it is quite there were those early episodes where he's not as dark as the Green Arrow or basically these other characters that have more darker stages or that have killed people in that type of method. For him to just be, well, he's this ordinary guy and he just he could still save the world, and he doesn't have to resort to that, and that's something that's quite enigmatic about it. And it's just, oh yeah, and he gets to just make sure that his friends are quite influenced by him to say, oh yeah, you're very much of a better person than we could ever be, but you're still important. And I believe there was an episode about him without his speed powers, and he still is able to just be a very good quality guy and just really uplift others, even though he's powerless, or when he was powerless. But still, the show does kind of get very confusing. And to be fair, that is kind of the point when it's like, oh, you're the fastest person ever that you could bend time, and then time bends you, and then you have to realign this timeline to that timeline to fix that other timeline to get your life back to normal. It's like, you do know that now that you've done that, normalcy never really comes at you very well. And so, hopefully, because that is not his last season, I think there's like two more seasons to go for this, because there is going to be another hero that I will mention later on this list that just had their final season. But for now, number 22, Tatsumi from Akame ga Kill. Akame ga Kill was that one show about, oh yeah, this one boy, Tatsumi, that joins this group of assassins. They're trying to overtake this dictatorship of a kingdom, which was weird because it's kind of supposed to be medieval, yet they have guns, yet some people actually have electricity for some odd reason, and there's these magical things. It's like, oh wait, it's not magical, it's like a power infused stuff. So I can understand why people didn't really like the show as much. And it's like, oh yeah, they have guns, but they also but it's not like these powdered guns. It's like they're fully operational semi-automatic rifles. It's like, okay, what is this show? It's like, what type of theme are you sticking to? But the overall theme is they're trying to overtake a dictatorship of a kingdom. And Tatsumi is just able to be very influential to people in that group that are kind of just very cold-blooded assassins, and especially to Akame, which apparently she's supposed to be the title character, but I guess she never really talks as much, and that's always kind of the weird thing. That people just found so we found like, oh yeah, she finally has her major part, but it's like near the end of the entire show, or at least the entire series. But Tatsumi being basically the lead, and basically being a very positive morality with everyone in that group, even the bosses, and even trying to attract the main villain in the show and making that main villain fall in love with him. I guess you could say that, oh yeah, his ray of innocence, even though he does eventually start to killing other people there, really reveals that, oh yeah, it's just them trying to have the most significant fun. And as the show goes on, and kind of a spoiler alert, he saves all these people by becoming this massive morphosis of a monster that can fly. And he basically there's this giant golem or some like structure, and it's about to fall over the city, and he basically just sacrifices himself to just get it away from the people trying to flee away from the situation. That takes his life. And it's like, that's something that you do when you're a hero, and you're having to basically sacrifice yourself, like basically like Max Costa from Elysium. You sacrifice yourself for the greater good, and hopefully it was very good. For the future that turned out to be a lot more peaceful. I just really hope that it's like they're never going to make another season of it, but I do hope they make that prequel. I do hope. But it's like you have to convince them that a prequel to a story that was basically already found itself as a everlasting peaceful resolution is worth the investment. So, number 21, Ash Ketchum. Now they call him Shitoshi in Japan. Yeah, of course, us, we, and me, I always know him as Ash. Because, that's what they presented him as. It's like, are you ready to go yet, ass? It's like, my name is Ash. Okay, that was from Robot Chicken. But still, that's something that just, okay, I can relate to that. And he was basically, the whole series of Pokemon was like my first pillar of just knowing what was right from wrong and becoming a better person, and just really making sure that you do good, and you no matter what the circumstances, even if they're the most dangerous creature out there, and you have to run away from that because you're going to put yourself in danger. But of course, it's like, but I'm a trainer, and I have to make sure that these Pokemon are all right. Whether they're facing from poachers, or whether they're facing from domestic abusers, or don't worry, they never face any rapes or any of that sort of thing. It's a kid's show. They're not gonna do that, right? Right? Anyway, so basically, and finally he was able to finally win his first like league championships. Though people like to discount the Orange League one, which I kind of do too, because it's not really registered, or not a lot of people participated in that. But him in that giant field and getting his first title win was so influential and so bountiful by the many years that basically and now he's in apparently a new season's going on right now. It's like he's been in this game so long, people thought he was going to retire after that. It's like, what else does he has to provide? Well, maybe provide this new partner that he's with. Is like, maybe you can be my next to keep the franchise going. I'm just so impressed with Ash Ketchum. Just him going, and so, even when he was he doesn't have any powers. He doesn't have anything really outstandingly proficient. It's like, yeah, he doesn't have big muscular muscles and then out the smartiest smarts, but yet he still puts himself out there to try to save Pokemon from wrongful actions and basically any essence that and trying to stand up for good. But still, his greatest fight ever was against that psychic woman, and like I think it was like 2 seasons ago, and that was really his greatest fight because he put everything that he's ever learned from the past. It's like, yeah, don't just rush ahead. Let them attack you. Just be flexible. Always use your surroundings. It's like he used all those lessons. I still people say that his championship win was his greatest fight, but that was actually his greatest fight against that one psychic lady that apparently claimed that she knew how every outcome was going to be like. But still, him just with that courage and still with that optimism just really makes him very unique. Number 20, Glenn Radars. From aesthetic records of a bastard magical or magic instructor. It could be magical instructor. Either way, that show didn't really. It was very interesting, and it just kind of downplayed it at the last episode. But anyway, he's like a magical professor. We learn he's like a veteran that basically went through this whole chaotic war. He was actually very much more better than what he was like in the first episode where he got his ass kicked by one of his students. And it's like, well, yeah, well, why are you like this? And it's like, and we learn later on that he basically did so much uncomfortable things, or basically just killed other soldiers, and just like did it without really or without regard to basically public safety that he basically blamed himself for. What was really significant is that he basically saves another one of his students, the one student that kicked his ass in the first episode. She was about to get raped, and he saves her from that. Though he did it kind of comically, is like he's like, "Oh yeah, this isn't the room that I'm supposed to be in." He's about to leave, and then she's like, well, "Why aren't you saving me?" And yeah, then he starts to beat up the dude, like a real boxing, like almost like Spike from Cowboy Bebop, or Mighty Joe from Gearless Show from Megalobox. I don't know why I didn't put Megalobox in or Gearless Joe in this. I never really saw him as a hero. Not even going to be a honorable mention, even though he did have that one scene where he saved the small boy that he really didn't care about from basically being beat up by this dude with garbage disposal or dumpster site. I don't know. I guess I didn't really see really him. That's if you want to make him your hero, then great. That's fantastic. You can agree or disagree down in the comments. Please like, share, subscribe. The whole lingo. And but yes, back to Glenn Riders. It's like just him being just ever so persistent and basically being very encouraging to his students, the rest of his students, to be something much more of themselves. Although it's not exactly as well rounded as much like grandchild's or wise man's grandchild, where everyone basically in that whole group had their own personality, had their own even more than one moment. In of course in the show of aesthetic records of a bastard magical instructor, it didn't seem that whole magical spread didn't seem quite wide variety, but still him able to have that title, able to have that experience, able to at least still be encouraging, and still just even in the face of against basically the rich establishment, still put up a good front. Actually, I would almost put it as a magnificent front. Almost. Number 19, Spencer Stone, Anthony Sadler, and Alex Startletos. I probably said those names wrong. I'm sorry. Because they're actually our local, they actually live around here. Well, not actually in this town that I live in, but down in Sacramento County. And they basically live around there. They were the three dudes. There was actually supposed to be a fourth dude, but he's not really mentioned as much. But yeah, the three dudes that mainly took down that one terrorist in that the 15 to 17 to Paris, basically like light rail. That basically from this terrorist that had like so many bullets, so many weapons, he was gonna massacre everyone. Then those three dudes basically stepped up, stopped him. Actually, did it by fighting him bare-fisted, basically just making sure he didn't fire another weapon or didn't start unleashing all this hell against everyone, told people to get to the front, and basically just how they carried themselves out, and just that was in a time when basically that terrorist group ISIS and ISIL and other terrorist actions were happening around the globe. And I think this was like maybe, I want to say 5 months after that one Paris attacks that left so many dead. And having that type of victory really uplifted so many people. And they still continue to do very, on the low key. Even that one, I wasn't at that graduation, even though I graduated from Sacramento State. He was from Sacramento State. Hornets, Stingers up. I don't know if Anthony Sadler's ever going to watch this. He's an ordinary dude, too. And it's like, hey, if he can do it, he with those two other dudes that were basically veterans as well. Yeah, because he joined the military. I believe it was Spencer Stone that went to the military. But if he was able to do that, then maybe it's something me as an ordinary person with a YouTube channel that's probably only averaging like 2 views can do it. I did. The movie was kind of not really well done. Is like everything was just built up for that one scene. Everything else just felt like filler. You're just filling time for the sake of it. Unfortunately, it's like, yeah, those and it kind of had that Christian vibe because it was directed by Clint Eastwood. Yeah, he probably shouldn't be directing any more movies, just starring some limited roles. Anyway, but I think it was Spencer Stone. And then is apparently like about a month later after that, he was basically getting surrounded by this one gang and they were trying to stab him, and it's like he did go to the hospital, but he was all right. I guess he was fighting off something. We never really knew the whole story about that, and they've been kind of keeping that shut. That's kind of a little bit concerning, but either way, it was a very good morality moment there. Number 19 or number 18, Gon from Hunter x Hunter. Yes, the green little cinnamon roll dude with the top hair that looks like a tree. Yes, him going through all that adventure, trying to become a hunter, trying to basically become his father, or at least in the sense trying to impress his father enough so he can finally meet him. It kind of seems similar to what I'm doing. Yeah, kind of have my own biological father that I like to meet. Anyway, it just basically him, even against all these dark moments, he basically it uplifts others who are so down in dumps and just thinks that the world is so mediocre to just blow it up. But just facing that one dude who basically has his sword right up to his forehead and still not backing down from him because he wanted to also become a hunter. He wanted to basically in a way make a difference. No, he never really said that. And it just really makes sure to help his friends and to try to overcome these obstacles to achieve your dream of not only becoming a hunter, but just maybe fixing a family. He never really goes into that, but he does basically tries to not only impress his father, but impress himself too, that he did live a life really awesomely. And it's like that whole thing where very late in the series, it's 145 episodes. Bear with it. Just really, when he comes back from being basically injured nearby there, it's like, or at least almost to the verge of death. It's like, ooh, everyone's just so happy, and that's how much he means to so many people, even to the most cold-blooded. And hopefully, Hunter x Hunter ever comes back. Probably not before, I want to say after 2023. Probably won't see it anytime soon. And it's kind of a shame. But if they can really make a very good story, then they'll definitely be worth it. Because there's supposed to be more of it. So, number 17. No, let's see. 16, 17. Yes, that would be Ayato Amagiri. Yes, Ayato Amagiri, the dude that basically is just an ordinary dude. He basically is just looking for his sister, making sure what happened to her, because he left this. He has to be burdened with this one curse that is really hurting his ability to fight. Oh yeah, I forgot. He's from the Aztec War. This guy, dude. Yeah, this dude that paid no attention to that one because that's Julius Hay, and he's the dude that basically is trying to uplift basically a school that apparently he represents. So there's like six schools that are competing in this whole tournament. He's uplifting this one team that apparently is always seen as the loser team. And it's kind of like, it's not the Cleveland Browns bad. It's probably like like 2 years ago, or actually more than 5 years ago, Cleveland Indians bad. You kind of like that format. Because it doesn't look like any of these schools are in the dumps, so sorry, Cleveland Browns. But again, just really uplifting others and getting a woman away from her abusive uncle and trying to save his sister, and just really standing up against people who are just very disrespectful to the game of Astragia, or the Fista Festival. It was the whole fest. It was kind of like a tournament, and going against that is like then he pushes himself through his curse that his sister laid upon him. I get the show was not very good. I very much enjoyed it. Although, to be fair, I guess like in those last two episodes, it did seem kind of rushed. But to be fair, they didn't exactly have a full certainty. And people like to call that dude Purple Hair Kirito. As you can see, you might actually understand why. Because, of course, he gets all the women. He always gets all the women. Well, not really. There were two women that weren't really totally into him. Okay. Anyway, but still, it was still very impressive. One of those last like 5 episodes, it's like in one moment he's basically like just kicking this one gigantic monster, or at least a creature or being that this one supervillain basically sets up, and he just basically uses his right leg, goes right underneath, basically almost takes it all completely down, and then the ladies help him out, and it's like, oh yeah, that was just completely just, they say OP. I'm still trying to figure out what the OP is. Like One Piece. I already discussed that. Anyway, Ayato Amagiri. Pretty cool, awesome guy. Number 16. That would be, I don't know if I can say this right, Mamoudou Gassama. Gassama. He was basically the dude who, it was in France. I think this happened about 2 years ago. Basically, he was a Nigerian or Liberian refugee. He climbed up basically this burning building. The building was on fire, and he climbs up. People called him the Spider-Man, basically the French Spider-Man, and he climbs up, saves about 7 people from that burning building, and he was so commended, and he actually worked his way through the fireplace, or basically their version of Fireman Academy, and basically became a fireman himself. And that's pretty wonderfully inspirational story, and become a French citizen and actually helping out others. And this was before he became a fireman, so now he's basically working in that facility, and that's pretty outstanding. And just really, because he doesn't have power, he climbs up that building, and he's just like, because apparently like the building kind of was very easy to climb on, like the bricks weren't exactly totally cemented, and there were kind of like vines in there as well. I may be wrong on that part, but still, that building was on fire. He went up there, he saved lives. He didn't need to. We should have let the professionals do it, but he did it anyway, because that's what being a hero is. What do you do when you don't have that much power? Number 15, Samurai Jack. Yes, Samurai Jack, who basically saves everyone, basically even saving people again. He didn't need to save some people if he all he had to do was just go back in time, just beat Aku, the very dark, magical, evil force, mass taker, whatever entity he is. That's also witty too, and just beat him, and everything will just be erased. Everyone's going to be okay. But no, he still did it. He still wanted to leave that impression, maybe on his morality, maybe on just those people that may have that memory of his existence. And he still does it. He's pretty OP, much more OP, because they keep blaming Kirito being OP or Ayato or any of these other people that they really, 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 really hate. Yet Samurai Jack does the same thing, but he gets no hate, and that's a good thing because that show is magnificently well done, amazing. Just even when there's no dialogue, there's so much happening there. There's the anticipation, and basically just really being a very good commandeer guy, being good with children. By the way, he's good with children. While also making sure that there's a baby on his back, and just like he's still fighting these robots that mean to do harm, and it's like, and then the baby is so influenced by him. It's like he has the eyes, the glaring eyes. Anyway, if you're ever watched that, it's like, again, he's quite universally influential. People make statues of him like during the end, and people wanted to watch what would happen to him if things went south, like really bad. And that's something that just leaves an impression. Even more than 15 years after that went off, and then it came back just to finish up the plot because, they never actually finished that plot. And it's a satisfying ending. There's this one dude that keeps spamming everybody on Twitter about, oh yeah, can we just redo that story so he can have a very good happy ending? It's like, I just tell him, just let's have a movie. Let's just have a movie about it, and we have our perfect ending there. I hope Grady does something like that, and I think he's doing something. Grady Turkovitsky, who created the show. I think he's got something on board, but right now he's focused on Primal. Hopefully, it's really well done. Maybe better result, but still, him able to carry out, even though everything that he's experienced, it's still quite something heroic. Next, number 14, Aang from The Last Airbender. He's still this influential, quite funny guy that, he's the last of his airbending kind, taking on the Fire Nation that basically is overthrowing people who can do different abilities of water, ice, or earth. And it's like, and he does that quirky charm and basically has these amazing fights, able to elevate his friends, elevate people that he never really knew about, because he was basically frozen in ice for the past thousands of years, or actually hundreds of years. I may be exaggerating that, but still, it was pretty awesome fights. He still basically brought back peace, and still like after, I want to say 12 years, no, 15 years since that show ended, and no, actually, no. More than 10 years. More than 10 years since that show ended. And it's still, like, very much more gravitated as one of the most best anime shows out there. Even though it's actually not anime, it's American anime, like the Boondocks. And I guess because, unfortunately, you can't put that on my anime list. So, but still, just like really bringing that into the American mainstream media has really, it's got really good ratings there. And Aang is really being the foundation of that. It's like, and this is the Nickelodeon one, by the way. I meant to say that this is from the Nickelodeon version of it, not the live action version. Oh, that was painful. Mmm. Mmm. My family and I were just kind of like, oh, we pointed out everything that was wrong, 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 wrong. Why are you doing that? Why are you making that person completely white? She was not that serious. Night Shyamalan. He should have used that one moment where they say, oh, I don't know how to do airbending. And it's like, that should have been the twist. You didn't treat it as the twist. That's your specialty, Night Shyamalan. But they are coming out with a new one, and it's like, I hope it's better. Can it be? Can it just only go from up here? It can't go any more to floor, right? Right? So, next one is Saitama. Number 13 from One Punch Man. He is the One Punch Man, doing the 100 push-ups, 100 sit-ups, and a 1K kilometer run. And it's like you have to do that every day. And it's like, oh, you have to suffocate yourself as well from AC or heat whenever necessary. It's like, yeah, and he becomes this strong dude, and he is so much strong that he even gets bored of all the fights and all the lives that he basically saves. And people keep telling him, it's like, hey, you have this mass amount of power. You can make such a great difference out there. And Saitama kind of finds himself, but then he finds himself back at it again. And every moment that people need his help, and they build it up, and then he finally comes in, it's like such a cheerful moment. They build it up very well. Saitama, and then just him just being ever so loving mangas like the ones I have here. And it's like, and loves video games as well. And it's like, yeah, and of course he's bald too, so he loses all that hair, and he still tries to have a fan club of himself, and just really being a compelling guy that people find it very hard for them to understand him. Very, very, very well appreciated type of hero, but unfortunately he's not recognized as a top hero because not a lot of people see what he does, and at least he still does it very well. And of course, training Genos, and basically, because even though Genos is supposed to be the higher ranked than Saitama, according to the government, their government, he's still he's still treating him. Genos is still treating him as his master, and it's like, that's another thing I should just point out to Genos. It's like, yeah, even though you're kind of low rank, even though you're higher ranked than your master, it's like you still treat him with respect. And Saitama still can just be annoyed with him. I sometimes wonder why I even put Genos below Saitama, and then Saitama has his moments of just saving people and just finishing it off and being this eternal light, and he basically takes over that a bit of a heel turn to basically make it so that every other hero doesn't suffer a major negative fallback against them. That's something quite admirable. Number 13? No, that would be 12. Number 12, Asuna Yuki. That girl. This girl. She's quite the adorable chandelier, and really just helpful to everyone out there, being charismatic, being very smart, even though she's also rich too. This girl. This girl as well. And of course, helping out a cancer patient as well is very significant. She's the blue hair girl. Yuki was actually a little bit of a good honorable mention. Yuki, suffering from that cancer, and basically going throughout her life, and it's like still influence others to be better. Even though she's in the virtual world, I would have actually loved to seen a moment in that show where she gets off that machine and she kind of walks maybe two steps to Asuna, and it's like in reality, it's like, oh no, I guess Riki did. He kind of really apologized how he treated Yuki on that part. Where is my Yuki plushie? I want it. I want it now. I want it to become with this girl right here. Also, of course, Asuna here, in her own progressive novel too. It's like she's much more of a hero there. And that's kind of why Riki Kawahara, the creator, wants that progressive to be basically into an anime, so they show that they do kind of have balance, instead of just this perception that Kirito is always the main master of this Harlem and shit like that. It's like, but yeah, this girl right here, survivor of a rape attempt actually, and still is able to be so strong and able to help out his main man from becoming a dissolution of himself, and just being so accepting of basically his faults. And that's really heroic, because that's what wonderful women do. Is like just really being strong, independent, need no man, but she wants her man because she wants it, and she is quite adorable. Oh my god, yes. I'm so looking forward to that episode next week. They haven't shown it yet on Toonami, but I'm very much looking forward to when, as her as a goddess in the underworld, and still with her ability, sometimes she doubts herself, and then she looks at the people and says, "Yes, I'm very confident in these people's abilities to, help me out with." And yeah, I cannot say enough amazing things about her. And to those people that keep saying that she's trash or that she's useless, I'm like, yeah, yeah, you guys are just jealous of her beautiful flowing hair. Okay, that's enough about me fangirling there. Because she is quite, again, she is something like, wow, you have all this riches, but you're not a total bitch. Anyway, enough about that because now number 11 is Glenn Oakley. Yeah, he was the dude that basically went into that El Paso shooting and basically saved kids, got them out of that Walmart, and basically away from that mass shooting. And it was something very interesting. Why is he up here? Why is he, there are always heroes from mass shootings, and we should definitely have those background checks, and we should definitely ban assault rifles, as you can see with the influence around me and what arguments we make. He's a veteran. By the way, he was a veteran, African American veteran. He had his own gun. He was in Texas, open carry. All right. So he puts down his gun. He knows he can easily just take him down with that gun, but he actually puts it down because he knows the police inside there would have mistaken him as the killer too. Racist, fucking police. Or maybe not. To be fair, it was El Paso, so there should have been also state police there too. It's like this whole circumstances is that Glenn Oakley just went in there, was a provider of calm to the kids, and that was what his interview was about. Shortly after that, it's like, yeah, I had to put away my weapon, not only because the police were going to probably mistaken me as the shooter, but he didn't want to cause fear into those kids' eyes or the people that he was saving, and get them out of there safely without basically having fear, and doing that with basically selling down his power was quite admirable. All right, number 10, Asada Sinon Sino from Sword Art Online. Just like Asuna, who's quite the survivor, this woman who's a sniping badass is always quite compelling. Also survived a rape and murder attempt as well. Of course, because and still being strong with that. Even remember, if you remember in the season premiere of the third season, she was still gonna see that dude who was gonna kill her and rape her. And wanted to confront him, and that's very admirable. That's someone very encouraging and just so wavering. Yay! Yeah, she's just I just there's never really enough amazing things to say about her. I mean, as a young age, she had to take down this one shooter that was attacking a postal service. That shooter was about to shoot down a pregnant woman. Oh my God, that scene! They haven't done that in the manga yet, but in the anime, they basically showed that, oh my goodness, that this woman who was pregnant with her child, and the child grew up, and that child, ooh, showed her a picture of that of her family, and saying that, thank you for saving me and my mommy. And she cried too. Again, she did that with 3 shots. Wow, that was actually quite impressive with the 3 shots, like the I think it was to the head and to the chest, and I can't remember the third shot. That was kind of quite compelling. Oh God, that scene was just done magnificently. Whoever did the English voice of that, of the little girl, was tremendous. I hope she has a very cool career. But yeah, also seen on helping, still continuing to be the badass, especially in Excalibur. I'll show that one later. And again, that's why she's in the top 10. She's top 10. Again, that bringing me tears in my eyes right there. Amazing. Number 9, Zalvonia's Dobless. I think I'm about to go a full hour with the pace I'm going. He was the one teenage kid who saved his 3 younger siblings. I may be exaggerating. It was maybe 2. And I think it was just a graduation night. There was a shoot by. He basically jumps in front of the bullets, in front of these rapid fire, and saves his siblings. And basically even the president of the United States, Barack Obama, not Trump, basically commended him for that, and just it's something quite significant when you taking more shots for your family that can't defend themselves. He was gonna have a bright future, and he sacrificed it for them. And I hope those siblings are doing pretty well now. If they don't blame themselves for being there, it's like again, maybe ban those damn semi-automatic weapons and weapons of war should not be on the streets. Please, God damn it. All right, number 8. Deku. They call him Deku. It's Atsui Midoriya from My Hero Academia. Yes. Wrong one. Fail. This one. The other dude's coming up later. And he basically is. At first, he was just a crying little bitch. To be fair, I'm kind of crying too. So, and basically, him working up the ranks because he didn't have powers in a world that was like 80% of the world had powers, and he didn't have powers. He wanted to be a superhero, or at least a hero. And and of course, the top hero trusting him enough because he saw what he could do without power and that he can be good. It's kind of like Captain America, by almost in some essence there. And he finally has that one moment where he basically does everything right. Basically goes away whenever he gets a chance, whenever, and tries to influence the kid to run. He does everything well. He did everything he could. And then he basically had to step it up even more and fight this guy. Influence that one kid that basically hated him because he was a hero, or at least hero, a superhero in that organization. And yeah, get him to do something, and then provide the opening for him to have his My Hero moment. That moment again, that moment when he is told that he can't be a hero even without powers. That gets to me. And my goodness, the kid, and right now, even now through their fourth season, he's kind of going against this minor league hero. He even has his main moment too, earlier in the fourth season, and saving this one little girl alongside with Melonian, who I mentioned in part 1. He just is quite admirable and quite influential enough to just do enough. I'm looking forward to what happens, like, because I guess they only have like 4 more episodes left of this current season. It'll be quite interesting to see where they leave it off at. And there's actually still plenty of more of the story to go around. So there's still much more room for him to improve on. But him being on the top 10 is quite significant. Number 7, James Shaw Jr. He was the one dude from Tennessee. He saved some people from being gunned down at a Waffle House, and he was quite condemned for, or approved of that. And even the main actor, Chadwick Boseman, who played Black Panther, basically gave him the award. I think it was on MTV, which was kind of what? But to be fair, everyone gets their own moment. And that was very good that James Shaw Jr., who basically took down a dude who has a semi-automatic rifle, and without anybody being killed, there were some shots basically fired off at. And yeah, he was able to stop him enough for the police to be there and stop a lot of people that were going to get gunned down. Even if they weren't inside that Waffle House, then that shooter most likely would have gone outside and killed more with that semi-automatic rifle. You kind of might get a sense of what I'm getting at with these this top 10. And just sweet Christ, the dude just was quite honorable. He even had an injured hand because he actually did get shot, if I remember correctly. I may be wrong about that, but I do remember his hand being bandaged up, and he basically was quite honorable in that speech he made. Number 6. Shinra Kazake from Fire Force. He's quite asthmatic. He wants to join the Fire Force. there's like different stations and want to destroy the main forces that are combusting people to turn into flame monsters and eradicate that. Also save his brother from that fire that killed his family so many years ago, and still uplift his friends because they're still in the Fire Academy saving humanity. That is something cool. And especially the one groundbreaking moment is that he saves one of his comrades when they were basically being beaten down, kind of just like getting quite to the almost the extent that it wasn't rape, but still it was kind of getting close to that. Interesting, not a lot of people complain about that, but still, he's basically, and it was a quite a fan service show too. To be fair, Tamake, that was her name, and he saves her, and they have that glorification moment of her being so appreciated that he helped her out because she thought she made a mistake. She thought she was just a pawn, and that nobody really else cared about her. Except for the dude that she basically fell for, thought he was the main leader, and then Shinra comes in with his fiery legs, just swamping his ass down, and just wow, just a very charismatic moment. And that smile too, even though he was basically bullied as a kid because people kept thinking he's just smiling even after all that tragedy, he's weird, he should be just be discriminated against him for the rest of his life. And it's like, no. And it's like he's still gonna keep going. He's gonna take on that devil. He won't be, and that one moment too when he finally confronts his brother, because of course your brother can't be dead yet, or not. He's got the main villain. Spoiler alert! God damn it! I should have done that earlier. But it was still kind of emotional because, yeah, I have brothers too, and he basically they go to that moment when why his brother is so important to him, and it's like he saves them. He wants to be the main hero. Why did he look like Great Saiyan Man in that moment? Nice influence there, and just I have brothers, and it's just like him being trying to still be his best brother out there, even though he's trying to stab him a lot and trying to end his life. It's like he still wants to save his brother, and that's quite awesome. And learning the secrets there, and fighting the main media that wants to kill him off. He still got a lot to grow too, just like Daku. And number 5, Oliver Queen, Green Arrow. That's the dude that basically just had his final season on the CW. It's done. He sacrificed his life in one of the crossovers once there to save basically his whole entire universe, and really make it, leave a lasting mark, kind of like the Dark Knight Batman did. I'm sorry I didn't really mention him on this list. Of course, it's kind of like, which Batman are you talking about? I'm talking about the Christopher Nolan Batman. That is basically the best Batman of them all, that, in my opinion. Though the Lego Batman is quite awesome, even though the whole lesson about family is quite an intriguing question about what happens when he has his own family, even though that was taken away from him. But back to Green Arrow. Green Arrow, Oliver Queen, even though he's rich, he's basically similar to Batman, even though he doesn't really do very well with mystery solving, though he has a good team behind him. And even though he's dark, even though he knows he's made mistakes or he's done terrible things, but he tries to move on from that and basically redeem himself as well. And they admit to their faults. And that one moment when he basically apparently killed like one of his teammates, like friends or fiance, that sort. And it's like he admitted to that. He didn't try to lie about it. And he was kind of forgiven there. And yeah, and of course, then there's like many other seasons afterward, like he's in prison, saves other people from within it, and it's like. Oh yeah, he has a family now. It's like, and then he saves them, even though he doesn't really have to, and like he still does it, because he knows he has to be much more better than the people before him, and that's quite commendable. He's probably gonna only be on this high on this list for a little bit, because but he still is the one who basically started it all in the CW, because oh yeah, he was the first superhero in the CW series to launch off the Flash and Legends of Tomorrow, and of course Black Lightning, and bring them all together. Supergirl too. Can't forget her, and now Batwoman too. Hopefully, I get to see a lot more, and hopefully, she's on the list sometime. Maybe in about 2 years, maybe next year, maybe now. I need to catch up more on that. Uh, Leave it down in the comments again. And number 4, that would be Asta from Black Clover. This dude right here, the one with the big ass sword and really starting to have his own charismatic moments there, never really giving up and never bowing down to the pressures that tell him, even though, again, like Deku, he has no magic. He has no magic. He has to do it, like, I guess we could also assume it's 80% of the people have magic. Maybe it might even be more than that, because I didn't see anybody else with no magic there. Ew, my sweet goodness. Asta really basically takes the worst team, like the Cleveland Browns. Hey there, again, worst squad in the whole kingdom, and basically turns them all around. They were like in negative 432 stars in the rankings, and it's like then they basically came back up. It's like almost to tie with, not really. They were kind of still behind like the main top T squad. But it's like, and that was okay. That was okay. You don't want them to just be all automatically be first, and then like what else are they gonna do? It's like, but that's still good because you still build on that character development, and Asta being part of it. I want that scarf, by the way. I want that Black Bull scarf. Just really being enlightening to basically a royal girl who's deflamed by her family, cast aside by her family, and other people, especially a mute and a girl that doesn't really want to talk as much or be embarrassed by her appearance, and to a woman that's a witch, basically, because apparently that word doesn't exist in that world. And my goodness, it was quite an uplifting moment. Oh, yeah, and of course, to a captain who's 28 years old. To be fair, I'm actually 29 now. Captain Yami will be 28 forever. And I'll still just basically be saying, yeah, goddamn, I'm not that old. How? Anyway, so Asta just, again, he's very loud, he's annoying, but my goodness, does he put that in the best sources ever? Now, number 4. Nope. Number 3. Yeah. From Sword Art Online, Yu-Gi-Oh! Yes, the best backup to the basically the greatest hero of all time. Has his own story, has his own better character development. Helps him out in the underworld. I guess in his own perspective, it's not the underworld, it's just the kingdom. And just really helping and basically stepping up when he needed. Because he saved 2 girls from rape. He basically does the most confirmational thing ever. People just hated that scene because it wasn't. They think it wasn't necessary, but it was. It was necessary to at least address this whole not epidemic, but it is basically the whole Me Too movement, and basically better saying that yes, there are people that suffer, but someone who actually cares and actually steps up to that moment and tells them, don't do that anymore. You're in a position of power, and he does it. He basically kicks some ass, and he's almost about to die, and then, of course, he's saved by, of course, the greatest of all time, which I'll get to shortly, and he just is quite uplifting. He's quite a very charismatic little good boy. I don't know why he wasn't nominated for Boy of the Year from Crunchyroll. I don't know why I take that seriously, because Crunchyroll doesn't really have very good panelists of judges there. They seem kind of biased there. It's like, you ignore Lisa, you ignore the artwork, you ignore the music, and it's like... But Yu-Gi-Oh! Again, doing that in a world where not a lot of people like to talk about rape or sexual assault, that's quite significant. And which leads us to number 2, that dude. This dude, Bernie Sanders, taking on so many issues around this country. Even on non-election years, he's still busy getting Amazon to basically fairly pay their workers. even though it's not perfect, it's like they always find loopholes, and leading the war powers resolution with bipartisan support, and basically because Trump doesn't want to get his dick off of like attacking those innocent people of Yemen to help out a dictatorship in Saudi Arabia. You need congressional approval, but yet, and Bernie led those efforts. And in the debate that he had previously or earlier, I'll have that review up pretty shortly. And yeah, I have some things about to say that. And but still, Bernie's just still being ever so kind to his competitors, even if he had the most fiercest debates, most fiercest, nastiest appearances or moments, experiences there. He's still able to treat them with class and able to influence so many others that we thought, oh, because we don't deserve free health care, we don't deserve any of all this things to improve our lives, to cancel student debt, to make sure that our environment is protected. Oh yeah, you can't have that because it costs us too much money. Yet it's very convenient that people want bailouts and war powers, and it's like he basically uplifted that going against Hillary Clinton in 2016. Yeah, they say it's not a brave story. He's just an old dude from Vermont. He never really faced anything bad. Vermont's still kind of very competitive there, especially with their governor still being as part of the. He's a Republican there. It's like it's not very liberal. You know that, right? And still able to convince him, basically convince the country, a good majority of the country, that he is the one to believe in, and very quite significant. But number one, this guy, that guy, this guy, this guy, this guy, this guy. I know there's more, and of course, his whole family right here is like the Excalibur series. The dude who helped out get the people out of there from Sword Art Online, Kazuto Kirito Kirikaya, the greatest of all time. I get it. You guys hate him that he's OP. That oh yeah he always wins everything. He lost people too. He lost Sashi. He lost groups too. He's not perfect, but at least when he rebounds, he rebounds. He suffers PTSD. He suffers regret. And people are influenced enough to help him out and then help others out. And he goes out there and he turns everything around. Oh, yeah, also, he's confronted 3 times molestation or rapes or any of that sort. More than anybody else around this whole circumstances, everything else that's happening in our world. And he confronts it. And he deals with it as much pride as ever. I want to be this dude so much. And I just really really believe he just the much more experience and the much more charisma and energy and everything else around that whole entire world. Just really uplifting others, even though he's kind of socially inept, as people or as the creator likes to basically create him as. It's like, yeah, he was my first original. He was my first plushie ever drawing, and sometimes I would sleep with him. Again, only dude I would ever go to that length there. Oh yeah, I was actually also able to get like the autograph from the dude who played his American voice. It's like yeah, it's like Bryce Pepperbrook there. That nice little contract to also dealing with his family and like tries to make sure that he still keeps it all together. And oh yeah, just so awesome. 2 swords, and now of course currently he's kind of like in the vegetated state and still able to make an influence there too, by the way, uplifting some integrity knights, thinking about oh yeah, I have to step it up. He's vegetated, but he still wants to fight. He still is not gonna let fear take him down. Still very strong. And yeah, just want to be like that dude. And that's just the list right there, all heroes. It's a long one. I hope you guys, I thank you for just staying with this, and looking forward to hopefully more changes in the future about my All Heroes list. So, this has been Progressive Alternative with Victor Monjares. I'm Victor Monjares. Like, share, subscribe, leave a comment down below. Well, if you're still interested. Thank you. Have a wonderful rest of your entirety life. Whatever perspective of heroes you think about it, anybody can be one. And it's all matters of how much of a hero you can be. And that's always a good thing. I think I nailed that ending, right? Yeah, I nailed it.